Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with all the turmoil as of late in the OpTic Texas camp, one of the big questions that has been raised is if Scump ever decides to step away from Call of Duty, which will happen, who is going to step into his shoes in that OpTic team? No one, of course, can replace Scump in terms of what he's done in Call of Duty, the brand and the kind of, the viewership that he brings to the scene, but someone's actually got to fill his seat on that OpTic team when he does decide to step away. Which player might that be? Is it possible that OpTic could split up the tiny terrors of Atlanta FaZe? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Videos to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Quick update here on the ranked play side, just because I know you guys still play it, well some of you still play it, or still play Call of Duty Vanguard, feel bad for you, but you know, it is what it is. And Lawrence Metten kind of says that, we've got some SR gains and losses, should now feel more consistent, so yes, some things changing. Pretty sure there was like some new weapons added in the new like season or whatever, and they are not banned yet in ranked play, so they might be being abused right now, but apparently they're going to get banned soon. That at least is what Crone said, so yeah, resolve some issues, ranked play getting a bit better. Hopefully next year also the track guys work on it for the Modern Warfare 2 game, because I mean this year's ranked play is honestly pretty decent, all things considered. It's not great, but it's much better than what we've had for the last several years, which if we can get at Modern Warfare 2 at or near around about launch, then that'll be a good step in the right direction right here. Now this is also, as Jared says from the XSET side, that the fact that Call of Duty creators apparently been in talks with the Call of Duty development team itself about the Warzone states. They're super passionate, apparently the kind of developers, Paris like, yeah, cries in Call of Duty Vanguard, because we don't get that development support anymore on the kind of on the competitive side of the game, or really just the multiplayer side in general. But yeah, sooner rather than later, Vanguard is going to go away, and yeah, we're going to get 2 years of Modern Warfare 2, which hopefully is actually rather good. Now, I wanted to speak at Clayster real quick. It's an interesting kind of discussion that this leads into. They went 6-1 in the elite playoffs eventually, for first seed, I believe, for the person. Pretty cool for Clayster and the guys. Pretty sure those playoffs for the elites come up this coming weekends. And this other was great actually from Clayster right here. He gets beamed all the way across the map by GodRx, and he's like, how did this guy see me? He's trying to zoom in and figure out like how this guy actually got me. Like, look at him go. And well, this is actually the clip itself. So Clayster's all the way. I've never even seen anyone stand up here, to be honest. Like, maybe this is a more obvious spot that I remember. But here he is in a search and destroy, and he gets beamed all the way across the map here by GodRx. Like, look at this. Fair play for GodRx here to actually see him. I can't even see the pixel right here. GodRx sees him and just beams me like 3 bullets across the map with the auto. So, I mean, yeah, fair play. Clayster's reaction, of course, makes a lot of sense given the situation. But this I wanted to mention because Clayster also tweeted this out. This is the most iconic creddy play I've ever seen, or the most creddy play I've ever seen. Pretty iconic one as well. No way Jeremy Studd uses teammates' riot shield as a head glitch to snipe me. So, I mean, look, this is Black Ops 2 back in the day. And this is when the riot shield, the assault shield, I think is what it was essentially called, was actually allowed by the pros. They didn't do it at the time with gentlemen's agreements. So we literally have this team right here with Gucci bringing the riot shield out. He's just walking forward with the riot shield down. And Jeremy Study, of course, has the sniper out over the top of him. And of course, the plant comes through. So Clayster's like, okay, wow, this is like unbelievably creddy. This is kind of pre-gentlemen's agreements really, where all this stuff was allowed and the pros didn't decide to ban any of it. Right nowadays, of course, we're not using the riot shield if that was potentially allowed, and all the other stuff as well. Shotguns and the like were, were perfectly free for usage back in the day. Now, the question was raised actually by Gersh. What is the possibility here going into the World Championship that, GAs start to be broken? Because the likes of the Volk, a weapon that has obviously proved rather strong so far this game, but got GA'd by the pros and is not used anymore, or potentially barrels, right? Maybe on the SMG, you've got the F8 stabilizer on the MP40 that shots are used by accident one of those times, and therefore you go into the World Championship, who knows what's going to happen? Or in Gersh's situation, right, you're about to be eliminated, right? You're a Paris Legion, you're a New York Subliners, you're on the verge of getting eliminated, right? Maybe it's time to pull something out, right? Because at the end of the day, how bad can it be? If you qualify for champs, fine. If you don't, then no one's going to really worry about it too much anyway. This would be kind of funny if this actually happened. Well, there was always been some talk about this. I think last year there was some challenges tournaments where people started breaking GAs and pulling out thermals. There was all sorts of drama going on because they wanted to ban something they couldn't ban. I think it was a QBZ or whatever it was called last year. They wanted to ban it. Some players disagreed, and therefore people started pulling out all sorts of stuff. So if that happens again, it'd be pretty funny. But again, the pros generally steer away from doing this and actually breaking the GAs, just because if they do, then, blacklists and scrims and all this other stuff comes up and people look on them badly and stuff. So, probably it's not going to happen, but I thought it was a nice idea regardless. Let's dive into this then, right? Because of course, next season, we've got to wonder on the franchise side, which players are going to get picked up. There's not that many, incredible talents really that are left on the list to get picked up into the league. People are talking about Wardy in terms of the SMG side from the European region. Ben Beans as well, one of the greatest gamer tags you're ever going to see in Call of Duty, as Maccat says. If Maccat says this guy's the next up, I'm going to take his word for it, right? So Beans apparently is certainly a player to be kept an eye on by these franchises going forwards. But I wanted to discuss the OpTic situation then, because people have always talked about for many years at this point, okay, Scump's going to retire this year, he's going to retire this year, going to retire this year. No, I don't think he's going to retire this year. Dashi said he doesn't think he is. Rambo said he's got at least 2 or 3 more years left in him. And Scump even himself has pretty pretty much said that as long as he's still enjoying it and still striving to something with the team and is still competing at a good level, then he's not going to step away, right? Because he can do content, at any point for the rest of his life, effectively, but he can only compete for a certain amount of years, so he probably wants to maximize it while he still can. But at some point he will step away. Of course, this year's been very difficult for the OpTic guys, right? They did win the championship, like a major one, so like if things don't go so well, but I honestly think that Scump will think this year that going back into Modern Warfare, right, with Shotzzy of course on the team, and the fact that Ilya like probably should be back next year, they can get a full year hopefully with their full team, then probably Scump will at least stick around for one more year. But whenever he does decide to step away, someone has to step into his shoes, right? And no one's really going to be able to step into his shoes in terms of doing what he's done for Call of Duty. I think the only one who can even take over any element of that personality is Shotzzy, right? Like I think Shotzi's the perfect guy to kind of fill that role in a sense on the OpTic team, take over all the numbers, right, and have that incredible strong personality that Shotzzy is already kind of building, right? I think he's the guy, if anything, that can be the next Scump, even though there's never going to be a next Scump. You guys know what I'm talking about there. But of course, with Shotzzy already on the OpTic team, someone of course has got to step into that seat that Scump would vacate in the slaying SMG role. And while we talk about this, I thought I'd bring this up on screen because this is the longest streaks of playing at the World Championship, and it seems possible this year that all of Crimsix, Clayster, and Detach, all of their streaks of attending the World Championship could be ended this season. It's kind of incredible. Scump will get to 10 in a row this year, which is kind of incredible as well. But again, there's 6, 7 like World Championships in a row, and yeah, some of these players are certainly going to continue their runs as well. But yeah, some of them probably this year will come to an end. But Scump, of course, has been there every single year since 2013. But when he does step aside, what do OpTic decide to do? Because they're the biggest brand, they have obviously a lot of money and resources behind them if they would like to execute it, and of course they still want to be on top of Call of Duty, right? So when Scump does step away, what's his perception going to be? Is he going to say to the team, okay, I think we should get this guy to replace me, I think we should get this guy to replace me, when he decides to step away, which hopefully, as I say, won't be a few years, but it's going to happen at some point or another. And let's say the team, when he does decide to step away, is the same as it is now. So we've got Dashy, Illy's still there, Shotzi's still there, and they need someone to replace Scump. Who are they going to get? The guys on the flank were talking about the possibility of getting someone from the FaZe camp. Could they get either a Simp or a aBeZy? Simp, of course, would be the key target that makes sense in kind of the slaying SMG role alongside Shotzzy. They'll have to pay a lot of money to make this one happen, and to get Simp off FaZe would be a hard task anyway. But I mean, look, it's OpTic. Simp would get the offer through his DMs and say, okay, well, I've at least got to consider this one.
So you're saying who's gonna come in and take Seth's spot is what you're saying? Who's gonna take his spot and be that guy? Is that what you're
basically
saying? Okay.
Yeah, next to Shotzzy.
Bro, low-key HyDra on that team is not a bad shout, bro. HyDra, Shotzzy, Illy, and Dashy. I mean, I don't think Paco's that bad of a shout for that team. But go ahead, Pat.
I think to me, if OpTic really want to continue, right, this dominance in COD Esports, they need to, when Seth retires, they need to split up the tiny tiers. I think that would be the move to make. It'd be an expensive move to make.
Kill two birds with one stone.
Right, yeah, it would be a very expensive move to make, but I think that is the move to make. I think that would set them up for success for the rest of the CDL future, whatever it is. I think you could go right with either one. I'd probably go Simp just because they already have Shotzzy, but
what if they couldn't get either of them and they had to go outside of, let's say, FaZe?
Paco.
Yeah, right.
I feel like Paco's a pretty good shout, or Huke, but a lot of people want to see XEO back. Like I could see maybe Huke, just anybody that can vibe with those guys and keep up with their pace. I don't see it being Huke. People are saying Envoy. A lot of people are saying Envoy in the chat. Envoy's a good shot. I mean, realistically, man, there's so many different options. They can even go like CleanX, right? Like they could do a CleanX type of route.
No matter which route they go, it's going to be an expensive route.
It's going to be an expensive route.
It's hard for them to get any of those players.
Yeah, if OpTic comes knocking at your door, cha-ching.
Yeah, cha-ching, and everybody entertains it too. Everybody, 100%. you can't not entertain the offer. You have to. And if OpTic comes to you with an offer, you have to sit back and be like, okay, let me think about this. Do I want to sketch here? Do I want to leave on my team or what?
So during the OpTic Chicago period, there was, of course, the whole King and the Prince situation, right? Trying to, like, help Envoy get to that next level, but I'm not really sure that was ever going to work out properly. Not like Envoy could step in potentially into Scump's shoes again if that was to make sense, but I don't think personally that Envoy is a player, like, he's a good player, just a solid player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think personally he's a player on the level of a Scump in terms of talent, in terms of raw ability, and putting up numbers in all game modes on a consistency level like Scump has done for quite some time. So I personally wouldn't go for Envoy, but he at least is on the consideration list, this is effectively probably the 5 players that are in the league right now that I would actually think of potentially getting. So aBeZy I highlighted anyway, just because they talked about there about breaking up the Tiny Terrors, which is plausible. I honestly do think that in 2 or 3 years time, let's say this FaZe team has kind of eventually teams run their course and like come to their ends, and maybe there becomes a time at a crossover period where this FaZe team is not having the success they once were. Maybe at that point they've already won 2 or 3 world championships, but like it might be time for this team to go their separate ways, and then Simp and aBeZy thinking, okay, like maybe Simp's thinking, okay, well look, I've been hated my entire career really playing for FaZe. Maybe it's about time that I go to a team like OpTic and get that fan support and will gain some more Twitter followers and boost my reputation in the scene. I don't know, like maybe that's something that would appeal to Simp. I think he's certainly got to consider it if the offer does come through the door. Huke is an option that's been talked about for quite some time, but you know, I think even OpTic said last season when he was kind of getting released for Dallas that Hex even had to think about the possibility of, okay, could he get Huke? Would he not? Like he at least had to entertain the question of buying out Huke from Dallas Empire last season, because he's certainly been a player for a long time that's been in discussion, but admittedly has been rather underwhelming as of late. Envoy is another possibility from Thieves, like to replace Scump, of course, but I don't really think you know, he's the player that I would personally go for. The other 2 I've noted right here from New York and Seattle are largely not just in terms of talent, but also in terms of personalities, right, in that kind of SMG role. HyDra is a guy that already has a lot of love from the community. People really like this guy, and understandably so. He's incredibly talented, great like slaying SMG player, but also has a really bright future, I think, as a player in the scene, great in content and stuff like that, just an entertaining guy in general. So I think HyDra to OpTic is a possibility. Pred is another one I've got to mention as well, because Pred immediately is another player really that's coming to the scene here, and is kind of taken over in terms of, like, he's got a very strong personality. He's not afraid to, you know, tell people how he thinks it is, and also incredible raw talent as well. So these are the players that I would at least have on my list if I was OpTic right now, to say, okay, look, I mean, look, if you're OpTic and you said, okay, we want HyDra, you can get him. If you want Pred, you can get him. Whether you can get Simp from FaZe if you wanted him, that is another question, right? Because this is what Simp said. I managed to find this tweet from sometime last year where he said, like, I mean, Raw the Monster says in reply to Simp at the time, like, I swear if you'll ever split up, effectively my duo aBeZy, right? If I don't retire with him still as my duo, then something went wrong, right? So saying that he effectively sees no world in which him and aBeZy would potentially split up. This, of course, is a year ago now, and again, there's something going wrong. Might be OpTic swooping in and saying, okay, we need a replacement for Scump. Simp's going to be that guy. Like, you know, we'll give you the Supermax, whatever it's going to take, and maybe when that day does come around, like Simp and aBeZy are in a slightly different place in their potential careers, and Simp's looking for something different, been on FaZe for however many years. I do think that if the offer came through the door right now, I don't think Simp would accept it. Maybe a year or 2 down the line, it's certainly a possibility. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on that one in the comment section below. Just wanted to finish up with this as well. I thought it was kind of funny for breaker modes. Even JCap supply was kind of funny here. Damn, you couldn't do rank them or pick the best. You've just got to go straight to delete them from history. So you've got to eradicate one of the legacies. JCap, aBeZy, John, or Zuma. This is kind of tough to say. You definitely can't eradicate JCap's legacy here. Like, it's just too long in Call of Duty history. 2 world championships. So honestly, like, the fact that Jacob and aBeZy both have 2 world championships and Jacob was a back-to-back one, I don't think you can erase either of their legacies. And what Zuma's even done more recently, right? Like, I mean, the fact that, you know, creating the flank and all this stuff for content, like, I feel like Zuma gets a pass as well, even though in terms of careers, he's relatively on a similar playing field and probably actually lower on the playing field compared to where John is in terms of all-time greatest Call of Duty players. But in terms of pure legacy, I've probably got to eradicate John from history. Like, not himself, obviously, but his legacy from history. I don't know. That's kind of the way this is phrased, but that's maybe my perspective. You guys obviously will have your thoughts in the comment section below. And just to finish up with this as well, thought it was kind of funny from Octane, even though I'm already getting very tired of this whole he's a 10 thing. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us YouTube gods this is a good video, and I was like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.